Hey guys, this is Shannon with Thermaltake, and we are here at COMPUTEX 2016. Now as you can see, we have tons of case mods here from all around the world. Now we're going to take a quick walk down this row and just a quick overview of some of the crazy mods we got going on. Obviously we have a bunch of them, so we're not going to cover every one in detail, but let's still check them out. First of all, Ron Lee Christensen, just a complete artist, built a insane looking steampunk time machine. I mean, he has so many things here, you really can't even begin to express everything that's covered within this. It's got totally different loops, all covered green, blue. He's got different light up effects. He's got different sculptures all around it, including inside. This is all just a very insane, crazy, out of the box way of thinking to turn a Core X9 into something totally different. Then you have Alex Banks. He took a Core X31, pretty much chopped it into pieces, took some of the parts, built an acrylic mid-plate that serves as not only the routing path for all of your liquid cooling, but also the reservoir. So you can see this large reservoir, all the purple fluid right there. That is a C1000 opaque purple fluid, and it does a great job of just showing off the accent within this mod. Then we have a familiar face. This is by Jesse Palacio. This is the huge Juggernaut. We showed this thing at CES, and as you can see, it's still up, it's still running. This thing is just an absolute beast. It is a Core X9 that was chopped into pieces once again. They seem to have a huge trend with just ripping things apart and making it something completely different. And then it's got one that almost looks like its brother. And this is by Ali Abbas. This thing looks like something kind of out of a post-apocalyptic, futuristic, maybe Mad Max theme looking deal. I mean, I'm not even sure exactly what this is supposed to be. This thing is just insane. It's got so much going on, so many different things. It's got USB ports scattered everywhere, lighting, fan controllers. It's got so much going on. It's really tough to say exactly what's happening in this mod. This thing is just insane. It's covered with all kinds of different details and a lot of hand fabricated items that just make it completely nuts. And speaking of completely nuts, Avengers theme, Captain America. I mean, who doesn't recognize this? Full steel hand-shaped shield by Jinky. Just insane mod, all iced up, whole system, completely looks like it's just covered in ice with the shield just slicing right through it. Tons of detail here, insane work, nice LEDs, just all around. An insane looking mod full of cool little details that make it really jump out from everything else you might see out there that maybe just has a little bit of paint or something showing Avengers theme. This really knocks it out of the park. Then we have multiple Core P5s here. There's too many to really show. You can see this one, Water Cube. Then we have Fabio Moma's. A very interesting coolant color, along with carrying the whole theme from your PCI blockout plates to the coolant to even the accents on the card and motherboard. Then you have a military theme where they actually use tiered reservoirs. You can see going down 3 different reservoirs that basically just feed into each other just to create a really cool aesthetic while still being functional and holding that extra fluid as a reservoir. Then you have Su Chow. Su Chow is one of the people that you saw won the Case Mod Invitational, has built all kinds of stuff, and this is his take on a Core P5, and it's pretty nuts. I mean, you can see he's got massive skill when it comes to bending PETG tubing. Well, it definitely does not end here. I mean, this thing, I've already seen some of the other projects he's worked on. This thing is just pushing the limit on every level. He's gonna keep going, and you're gonna probably see even more coming in the future between Thermaltake and Su Chow to push the limit with a lot of things just like what you see in these mods. Now, if we come around the back right here, we've got a couple from Stuart Tonks, and one from Ice Wolf. You have Stuart Tonks here and here. This one you saw at CES. This is actually a newer one. And then you have Ice Wolf, which has a pretty extreme front plate, no front window like a standard P5. He actually custom built his own metal piece here, along with, once again, a theme we're seeing is the solid cut out and milled pieces of acrylic that make their own custom reservoir. That's a really cool, neat aesthetic. It takes away the cylinder that you normally see, and then you just add your own pump into it, make your own water channels, and just make something really sick. Now, we've all seen the Core P5. One thing people really wanted was they wanted AIO fitment. So when you look at the Core P3 here, this is the newest edition, you'll notice the space between the motherboard and where the liquid cooling mounts is a much tighter area. This allows for AIO fitment, which we'll show you shortly, but also we include a bracket at the bottom that allows for custom liquid cooling as well, custom reservoirs, things like that. It's just a much smaller space, but it also is a much smaller frame. So overall, if maybe a P5 was a little too big for your gaming area, you can still build a full ATX monster system in a Core P3 if you just want to run AIO If you want to run custom, you could, but we'd more like to see you go Core P5 because you have a lot more room to work with. But let's go ahead and check out another cool new chassis we introduced here at COMPUTEX 2016. And next up in the Core series would be the Core G3. Core G3 is a small, slim, SFX powered system, and this is a very small system that can fit a much smaller and much more compact SFX power supply along with a vertical mounted GPU. We'll show you in a built system here in a second. This one still has full cooling capacity though. If we go take a look at this one, this is actually a window option we may be looking at with a very large acrylic window. As of now, the panel was like the one you saw over there, but this shows you everything we've got going on. We've got plenty of cooling fitment across the front, so even in a small chassis like this, you don't have to worry about how cooling is going to be affected. You don't got to worry about possible lack of airflow or just poor cooling performance. Overall, this thing's going to knock it out of the park when it comes to cooling, performance, and how the system looks overall. You have your GPU mounted vertically, just like you have in the Core P series, which is really awesome because it shows off your graphics card, because a lot of people spend a lot of money on the GPU. They want to really show it off, and a lot of times they simply don't have that available. Well, by making it vertically mounted, you now are able to crunch that down, make an even smaller space for the chassis. Being that we offer the new SFX 450 and 600 watt power supplies, now means that you can fit a pretty much monster GPU with a nice power supply and an SFX solution and be able to have a nice, tight, awesome gaming system. Now let's go check out the fully built Core P3 versions to see exactly what kind of configurations you can make happen. Now you can see the Core P3 as it's meant to be configured. The reason we designed this was because people asked for AIO cooling fitment. Here you have the Ultimate 360 AIO hooked directly up to the motherboard, no fitment issues at all. So plenty of room for a huge monster graphics card. This one's way bigger than most you'll see on the market, but it gives you the room. Obviously your PSU, we had to omit some space so the PSU lays flat when you're running a full ATX board. You can still run ITX and micro ATX with no problem. However, you will have to, you could flip the PSU up and see it that way, but if you go ATX, you can flip the PSU sideways and you'll be ready to go. Now let's go take a look at the custom liquid cooled version and see what we can do there. And here you can see, even without having to do a Core P5, with Core P3 you can still do custom, but you're going to have to, obviously with the omission of space, you have to move the reservoir up front, which means it'll be like right in front of your radiator. That may not be as visually pleasing as you'd do a custom in a Core P5, which is why if you're going to do custom liquid cooling, it's better to go with that case. But if you wanted just a smaller footprint, you could do it in the Core P3 and have the same effect, just obviously crunched down visually. Now let's go ahead and take a look at some of the new cooling components we got going on. Now, as you can see, Ring RGB. These have been a very big hit across the market. People love the Ring lighting. People love the RGB capability with all the different 256 colors capable. Well, we've taken it a step further with the TT Premium line of RGB Ring fans. It now has a digital software controller, so you can actually plug in each fan and they're individually addressable. So it's no longer just setting it with a hardware button. You now can set it in software within your OS, as you can see here. And you can individually set your performance, your blinking style, your color mode, everything all can be set within there. And it can go up to 48 fans. So you can individually address up to 48 different fans to basically set it like a Christmas tree effect, different blinking or lighting effects. It's really up to you. And one cool feature, if you check out here, was once we stopped the fan, let's say you had a malfunction on a fan, something wasn't working, something got stuck in a fan, your software will actually warn you once it times out, because it's going to try to start it a few times, see that it can't go. And then as you can see, it gives you a controller warning, which makes it much easier. Now you can see, hey, this is the controller that's having a problem. It simply can't make that fan run. So it's going to give you that warning, which means if you happen to actually be running 48 fans, you now don't have to trace them one by one to find the issue. It'll tell you exactly which controller it's on, which is going to make diagnosis and fixing it much easier. Now let's go check out some of the cool liquid cooling stuff we've got going on. Now, with more new cooling products, we also have a lot of LCS stuff. One of them being the fact that GTX 1080 just launched. Well, with GTX 1080, we have a complete finished water block at the time of launch, along with a custom backplate for it. Obviously, this isn't exactly final. This is one of our first prototype samples of it, but basically it's a full water block, full cover, covers VRM, memory, GPU, all ready to liquid cool your brand new GTX 1080, the Founders Edition card, along with a backplate to cover it. And there's also something else really cool that's designed for your design aesthetics with your liquid cooling system. Now, sometimes people don't want a big crazy LED lit system. Sometimes they just want small things to pop. So we actually took and we made some LED fittings here. As you can see, you can cycle through. It lights up just like you'd have with your Lumi LED strips. So it uses a small hardware controller here, and you can set it for cycle or single color. You can select pretty much whatever color you want in the spectrum, and it will light your tubing up end to end, so that now you can have special accent pieces with your specific sections of your liquid cooling, so that it really can jump out and pop outside of the rest of your chassis. Because sometimes you just don't want that crazy array of huge lighting strips, things like that. You want just something that'll really jump out and make it look awesome. Thermaltake wants to make sure we offer you an awesome solution to do this. That's what we wanted to make happen with these new fittings. Now let's go take a look at some of the power supply stuff we got going on. I think we got some really cool features there. Now at CES 2016, we showed you our new titanium RGB power supply. That had a totally new case design, RGB fan, all kinds of cool new features, including the SPM functionality. We did this across the line now. We're moving to the new chassis style, as you'll see here. There is the whole new chassis style across multiple gold versions, not just the titanium top end one. Now we go all the way down to our RGB gold, 850, 750, 650. We go up to our DPSG, the titaniums. We now have 850, 1000, 1250. And even if you come down here to the end, we have a monster 1500 watt. So I mean, if you're really looking to push the limit on having massive amounts of graphics cards, just the most extreme system out there, we have a power supply to keep you covered, have an awesome look for the aesthetics, overall the new chassis design. Now if we go down to the bottom here, there's a couple more cool ones. Now obviously these aren't the super uber top end like your titanium. These are more your standard Smart Series and standard Tough Powers, the golds. And you can see they have a new chassis design as well. We're really pushing this new aesthetic because people really like this new case design. Then the SFX, those little guys, it's not easy to make Gold Series 450 and 600 watt power supplies of this size. So we include that, but not just that, we also include a bracket that converts it to standard ATX power supply size, so that you can even use that really small power supply in a larger case if you wanted to. The option's really up to you. And the other thing is, we know a lot of modders say they really hate individually sleeving cables. It kills your fingers, messes your hands up, it's just not a lot of fun. So for those that just want to make a really cool looking system without spending all the time, effort, and sometimes the pain, we actually have individually sleeved end cables. These are extensions, so you don't need to worry about being compatible with your power supply. They just plug into your existing, and the end looks really nice, and there's multiple colors available. So feel free to check out thermaltakeusa.com for what those are. Now let's go take a look. With SPM, we mentioned before, there's a cool new feature we have going on with the SPM software. Let's go check it out. And now we have one of our DPSG powered systems. This has the DPS app open, it has a DPSG PSU in it. I even have a phone connected to it for the mobile app. So basically, once you have mobile alerts enabled, it's got a really cool feature. Now normally you don't want to do this, but we're going to take this here and we're going to block the power supply fan so that it stops. And now if you look at the screen, it gave me a fan failure warning. Also, the phone here gave us a fan failure warning as well. So as we go into that, you now know, hey, I've got a fan failure, my fan's not working. So as you click OK, now the internet here is a little slow, so it takes a second for it to recover. But once it comes into this, we'll go ahead and we'll have an option, which is really cool. You can see this is a PC we're watching. So we click into there. Now we know, hey, we've got a huge problem. The fan's not working, and let's say you're at work and you get this warning. You could tell your system to turn off. You confirm to turn it off. And then at home, your system's actually going to go into a shutdown mode. So it now signs you out. So this gives you complete confidence in the fact that if you have an abnormal system condition and your PC has a problem where it either detects overheats, it detects a voltage spike, some sort of weird issue, you can remotely shut down your system, or you can even schedule restarts as needed. Like let's say your system, you set it to download your favorite game and you had to leave for work. You can actually, from your office, from your mobile, you can schedule a shutdown, or you can manually shut down if you run into issues. As you can see, now our PC went through, basically it goes through, saves its data just like Windows would do, and now it's going to shut down completely because we detected an abnormal condition, which was the fan not functioning properly. And now you can kick your system off and make sure you avoid possible damage in your system or from it overheating or something like that. Then when you get home, you can take care of it and make sure there's no problems.